Well, again, no reliable denial over the allegation from Kiki. And even myself, even myself, I'm expecting, although, listen, it's purely hearsay from Kiki. You expect in situations like this that potentially the reports to CPS or the allegations against Daniel bringing harm towards Jack and Lily on an ongoing basis might be exaggerated. Not that he wasn't, but that the claims that are coming in are exaggerated themselves. Like most recently, Jack being upside down in a car seat in a closet for hours as punishment, as an example. Now, I don't take the report in that sense from Kiki as 100%. I'm not expecting it. I don't know either way. I'm not expecting it to be 100%. The issue for me is that there is ongoing discussions from Cindy's family in that sense about what's really going on in that household and how Daniel is out of control. And we expect Daniel to lie about it. But when it comes to his response to his public response on Facebook to Kiki's allegation, it's still not looking very good for you, Daniel, because within this, you say that you did mistreat Lily and Jack. Now, you probably meant to put an NT or an NOT in there, but you didn't. This whole response and your responses in general are absolutely useless to you. It makes you look even more guilty in this sense. Now, I'm not one to get hung up over the details of it because Kiki is hearing all of her information through Wade and Cindy, and it could be exaggerated. But it doesn't matter about the finite details. The fact is the mistreatment, the illegality is still relevant. And it needs to be investigated. But this is the trap that has really gotten us here. Because when you send in Children's Aid to do their own investigations, they're dealing with liars who deny. They approach you with the allegations. Now, in this circumstance, I have no idea how they could have overlooked the necessity to further investigate, not just investigate the report. See, there's a person that comes around, a lackey, if you will, that responds to the initial allegation and confronts you at your home. Then they take that information back and discuss it, whether or not they need to but whether or not the psychologist needs to get involved or the investigation needs to proceed, or there needs to be an investigation in the first place. All you had to do was take a look at the outside of this property to know that there was neglect going on within that household. All you had to do was talk to these foolish, idiotic parents in that circumstance and know that, yeah, you should probably investigate what the heck is going on here. So how is it that they just dismissed, any concerns that people were bringing forth to them? And that's me assuming that Cindy had already, because there's talk of her suing CPS in that, or CAS in that circumstance. Now, these claims of Daniel's on his post are lacking in a reliable denial, as in, I did not do this to Jack. I did not lock Jack in a closet for an extended period of time in a car seat. What's interesting about these is that it's something that can be brought up much later. And yes, held against you, Daniel. So again, the two sensitivity areas that we have here are Daniel's rug use, which he wants to insist has nothing to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lily. But, it does, son. It contributed to the toxic environment and your inconsistencies within the home up to whatever happened to Jack and Lily. I'm not even calling it a disappearance because it's not a disappearance. It's presented as such, but Daniel and Malaya know exactly, and so does Janie, Derpwood, Jordan. You know exactly what needs to be hidden and why. And I'm going to tell people who are leaving comments below who can't get past the fact that, when these things come out, the only thing that you hear from certain people is that, if this is true, well, that goes without saying. If this is true, or Daniel, or not Daniel, excuse me, Wade and Kiki, did they go to the Children's Aid? Did they go to CPS before they came with this information? Why is it taking so long for this information to come out? First of all, you're not entitled out there to any piece of information about this case. None whatsoever. So you should be already set in a state of mind that keeps that open. It doesn't need to get put onto the person bringing the information. You should be thankful that the information has come out. Now, is it true? Is it not? Are you waiting for somebody to tell you? You shouldn't be. If you're sitting there waiting for other people to tell you what they think is true and what they think isn't so you can then adopt it, there's a real problem within your processes. Otherwise, the conversation needs to progress past if or when this Kiki. It's irrelevant. I could care less. Other than the fact that I hope that she reported it. But Kiki is so distant from the family, you would expect that it was reported by Cindy. These people in the comments section want to virtue signal as though that their way... never mind. It's just so fucking ridiculous. And especially in my comments section, I don't care. What I care about is where Jack and Lily are and the deception and the lies and this deceit by those who were left to protect the children. Well, Daniel can't wait to shift blame onto other people, anybody in the moment, to fool all of the stupid people. The more Daniel speaks, the worse position he is in. Not from the act of sheer speaking, but it's the crap that comes out of his mouth. The avoidance, the refusal to directly answer questions, to even be in the same ballpark to be on the topic of the question asked. You take the answering questions as your opportunity to go ahead and answer them in ways that are obscure and indirect. Well, that's a big indicator too, Danny. Anyway. As far as Kiki's allegation goes, I believe it 100%. Now, was it at a perfect 90-degree angle? It doesn't matter to me. Upside down, sideways, the fact that this child is locked in a closet for an extended period of time would be a real problem. In his car seat, on top of it, so he was restrained. And then, upside down to boot, it might be getting a bit far for my imagination, but that's what Kiki's saying. That's the word on it. And I would expect that it came from Malaya herself. Came from Malaya to Cindy. Cindy to Wade, Wade to Kiki. Oh, it's a topic that's worth discussing. It needs discussing because it is right over the target as to the contributing factors as to what made Daniel snap, what made Daniel have to move to make these children disappear in that sense. Come on, Danny boy, give us one example. Give us one scenario that we can latch on to that would give us some sort of doubt as to whether or not you're guilty in this. Your word just isn't going to do it. And that's what you're relying on? Oh, that's pathetic. So it was interesting last night watching Mike Damon. Watching Mike Damon over there talk about what Jordan Geddes is sensitive over. And it has to do with it's really interesting how this all comes down, because in our listening audience, there are plenty of people from Pictou County, shout out, that have come forward and talked in detail and have kept eyes on old Jordan Geddes, who, in fact, are neighbors to Jordan Geddes. And they have all kinds of things to say about Jordan and Durwood and Daniel even being at Jordan's house with Malaya, the kids, and Meadow on Thursday morning. And they go beyond that in referencing Jordan Geddes as Daniel's rug dealer or partner in crime who goes in and purchases the substances from another person. Whereas, like, instead of paying $10 a point, they could get an 8-ball. They go in with a little bit more money each and they get more substance in the end. So it's more economical when they go and make a buy. And many people are talking about Daniel and Malaya stopping by Jordan's maybe to pick up some cash on the way to New Glasgow, where, remember, in the parking lot, they met another individual who met another individual. What parking lot was that again? The Dollarama? In the Dollarama parking lot, old Daniel met another person. Well, could it be for a purchase? Because we knew that he just had a pocket full of Patty's money from the day before. I wonder. Enough to get himself a vape? Congratulations. You need a little something to come down off your tweak. Tweak, 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 tweak. And Jordan is out in the background intimidating all of these grannies, hell's grannies from Nova Scotia. Everybody in the Pictou County area, if you're over 65, be careful. Jordan Geddes is on the prowl. He's going to insist that you add him as a friend on Facebook and then proceed to berate you with all kinds of vulgarities. And then after he's done, he's gonna half-heartedly apologize and say that his anger may be misguided. What a moron. Another thing we need to touch on. Old Danny boy. Old Daniel now thinks he's a big... he's certified in criminal interrogation because he's taking some online courses that some WMIS training. He's taken WMIS training for criminal interrogation. And he's throwing that around like that's going to keep him out of trouble in the circumstance. Listen, douche, you can be fluent in all kinds of things, all right? But you're not getting out of this one. Nothing is going to change the reality of the situation with Jack and Lily and your responsibility to it, Daniel. You're the primary target here. You're the prime suspect, whether you want to believe it or not. The big problem for Daniel is application. How does he go ahead and apply these sciences to his everyday life? Well, the problem with all of that is it's way too late for that, Danny. Old Danny boy says that he's got RCMP drone protection. Don't you mean surveillance? I want you to understand I can't really open up like I want. Is that what you're calling it, Danny? You have the RCMP surveilling you and your phone lines, all communications, even from the sky. Because at some point behind the scenes, away from the camera, away from the microphone, away from all of the false portrayals that you need to make on social media, you're going to slip up. Yes, you are. You're going to slip up, Danny boy. And you have been slipping up. It's just been on camera. Oh, the case is building. It's building against you one day at a time. We get a little bit closer to those silver bracelets being on this peckerhead's wrists. You not opening up as you want does have everything to do with the RCMP. However, it has nothing to do with protecting you. The RCMP are not wanting to protect you, Daniel. They're surveilling you, listening, spying, monitoring, and comparing. All the RCMP statement analysts are up there having their breakfast right now, laughing, having a good time, giggling, eager for the next time you open your fat trap. He says, I did abuse Lily and Jack in any way, in all kinds of ways. And as for Kiki, your false claims render yourself dissolved down to the basic form of straight unintelligent. What does that even mean, Daniel? That must be the rugs talking. There's no closets in the house, so how is your statement you fabricated even effing have any validity to it? There should be question marks as opposed to exclamation points after that. Mr. Rhodes Scholar. So the fact that you want to insist that there's absolutely no closets in that trailer, which is fine, doesn't mean anything to me. How does that get away from you mistreating Jack and Lily in the house on a constant basis? Well, you did, because that's what the ongoing conversation and the need to be talking to Malaya's mom, Cindy, and Patty on the daily. Something that you just disliked so much. You know, the conversations that you wanted to prevent her from having. You held her down and held the phone away from her. You kept it away. Why was Jack not wanting to go home from school? Because he was terrified of you. That's why. He liked to be around adults that were fun and treated him nicely, pleasant, as opposed to the douchebags back at his residence at Garlock Road, your trailer, your mom's RV, who discriminated against him, who treated him like second-class citizens, who abused him. Here's my favorite part of Daniel's message. This is just another attempt to paint me, being Daniel, as evil because I have nothing to do with the disappearance. So let's attack Daniel in the public eye. See, that statement makes no sense, Daniel. People want to paint you evil because you say that you have nothing to do with what happened to Jack and Lily. See, that would be impossible, Daniel, because you lived with Jack and Lily for the last 2 years. And you've presented no evidence to show us otherwise. You just want us to believe that you're not lying and take your word for it at all times. You're a textbook liar. And in this case, you've got every reason to need to lie. Because it was you who brought the harm to Jack and Lily. We know that. There's no rationale to that statement. It's pointless, meaningless. And that says everything about your positioning. You're talking about painting a false narrative, which is really something in totality that you've done since the call to 911. Danny, what about all of the other hours and minutes in the previous 2 days that you don't want to be held accountable for? Why is it that you didn't want people to know about your stopover at Jordan Geddes' house on Thursday morning? I really wonder. See, what's interesting about that is way back on, was it June 20th or sometime in late June, when that idiot Jordan was up on Dolly's calling him and his call-in show, talking about how offended he was. He's got no rationale, just how offended he was that people somehow are putting him in the know in all of this, and that the kids were in his driveway on that Thursday morning, way back then in June. We wouldn't at that point in time have known to recognize it. It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo from a moron. And it really is. And he is. But now it's a lot more interesting that we get to know the people that reported him, because they're all up in our inboxes, his neighbors, and they don't have a whole lot of good things to say about Jordan or Derp Derp. So the real conversation here to me is, or the discovery is, how Malaya refused to prioritize or put her children before her own wants and desires, or her hopes and dreams with Daniel in that sense. And I believe the more I get to know about the situation, that it had everything to do with the substances that they were both hooked on, that they were both using, instead of parenting their kids, instead of raising a healthy household. You're too busy getting high and doing the nasty and bringing new children into this world. It's disturbing. It's disgusting. How are you going to pay for that there, Danny boy? There's also something that you guys can follow up in this comment section, if you will, and we'll talk about it in the next video. Where's Truth says, I'd like to know what abuse Malaya did as well to the children. Well, we could probably take a guess. Remember, she locked DM's daughter in the bedroom. My question is, where's Truth? How do you know that? Where are you getting that information from? I'm not questioning it. I'm just curious as to know where this conversation had, where you gained this bit of information. Seriously, Malaya is no angel and a rug addict too. She's been on rugs before Daniel, in your opinion. Well, how do you know all of that about the locking of kids in the room? I mean, that would be a common way to cool a kid down or put them on a timeout. I don't know necessarily if it's abusive in that sense. If you said you're locking the kid in your child in your room, and you're going out and doing all kinds of other things while they're on lockdown to keep them in one place while you go and live your life, that's a different thing. So I don't know. I'm not underscoring. We know that there was neglect and abuse within the household, absolutely. But don't allow ourselves to get confused over the things that people say. Just take them as they are in that sense. We know that Daniel's abusive. We can see that. I really hope that Kiki talks Wade into communicating with Mike Demand through email, something off live stream, because it puts people on the spot and it's uncomfortable and awkward, and it's rushing to the person who's exchanging information. Mike said that he set Belinda up and Kiki so they could get together, and he's right. It's absolutely imperative in this circumstance, at this moment in time, that all of the innocent players in Jack and Lily's life get together and are in harmony against the nonsense that is coming out against not just Malaya. Well, she may be deserving and is deserving in this, but she's nowhere around to speak out. But they need to unite against the nonsense BS that Daniel, Derpwood, Janie, and Jordan are bringing. When your voices are united together, There's nothing that's going to change that. Not one of these idiots are going to be able to add any sort of plausible deniability to what's being discussed, especially from the people in their lives who know so much about Daniel and Malaya's relationship and how toxic it was, and in turn made Jack and Lily's life less secure. So I hope that Mike communicates, or the people who are closer to the case on the ground do it in the background, away from the live stream especially. Videos and all that are great, but it's very difficult on the people that are involved to be put on the spot for the sake of people's entertainment in real time. There's way too much entitlement going on, making the rounds in the comments section, and people aren't entitled to know anything in this circumstance. And when they do find out something, it adds confusion to what it was that they already presumed. No. Guys, take the information as it is and know where you stand at all times. It's not looking very good for you, Daniel, and there is a case working against you. We're going to see this perp walk soon. There's no reason to lie, exaggerate, stretch the truth, and do as much denying as Daniel's doing in this circumstance. It's one thing if he had a plausible answer for any of the questions coming their way, but again, their priorities and somehow everything that the police do have to associate with somehow their innocence in whatever happened to Jack and Lily, preemptively, way ahead of time. They're already well set up to have a defense in that sense. Let's save it for the courtroom. That's where this is going. Daniel, Malaya, and Janie were responsible for the safety of Jack and Lily, and they're nowhere to be seen. And the best that they can come up with is offering up the fact that they believe Jack and Lily voluntarily walked outside the door, closed everything up behind them, never to be seen again. And they don't want you to know the hours and minutes or the things that occurred in their lives leading up to that disappearance, let alone anything else in the previous 2 years. So when we get our information secondhand, it's really working against you, Daniel. It speaks to an individual who was only interested in his obsessive relationship with Malaya and the control that he had over her. And he desperately wanted to keep it for his own selfish reasons. You're disgusting. You don't deserve to be in Meadows' life. You shouldn't be around children at all, Daniel. You know this. So here's an example of what it is that's too far, in my opinion, on my comment section by Patriot. I don't know what that says. This Patriot girl. Cindy and that family could have told on Malaya and Daniel. They're not reporting to police. Make them just as responsible. Reporting to police? Don't you mean Children's Aid? And how is it that you know that they didn't? It sounds like they did. Bungling up Cindy and Wade and the family is unfair on your part. You can do it all you want. At this point in time, without you knowing any of the information, it's incredibly unfair. Just like it's incredibly unfair for some of you that show up in the comments section to be hating on Belinda for not doing enough. Get your heads out of your ass and stop being distracted by woulda, coulda, shoulda in this circumstance when Jack and Lily are still missing. When we can get them back, or this case progresses to a point where we can trust the information like it's being presented in a court of law in that sense, as if there's some solid facts around it, well, then make up your mind looking back. But it's far too early to be throwing Cindy and Wade under the bus. And it's unhealthy, especially for the people that are doing it, because you're misguided and you're refusing to take that thought that much further and really figure out what that means to the case. You just want to throw your hands up and blame everybody that comes in to the situation here. That's unfair and unnecessary. It's Daniel's fault. It's Malaya's fault. It's Janie's fault. So how exactly would you go about preventing all of this ahead of time when you have to deal with liars? You're never quite sure what's true, what's not, what's occurring. You know what's being said in the background. Nobody behaves like that. So sitting here trying to quarterback it after the fact and placing blame on people who are coming forward and volunteering important information that you should be thankful over, you want to turn around and point blame at them somehow. Oh, you're so virtuous. Do you want to blame them for 9/11 as well? They could have prevented 9/11 perhaps. You need to stop with your little soapbox and stop casting judgment upon people that you've got no right to do so. You should be thankful for any information that's coming out and continuing to develop your own theory into what happened based off of facts, not your own internal anger over somebody not stepping in to prevent any of this from happening. It's a little too late for that shit. Nobody out there thinks the worst is going to happen until it does. And you're right there, Kelvin James. Malaya's stepfather, Wade, said on Tint's YouTube that he didn't feel that she cared about anything when it came to Jack and Lily. I believe him. I believe that's the way that she looks.